What's up? I'm Jack. Premier League season is almost on its way. We're just a few days out from Liverpool's season opener against Norwich City at Carrow Road. Ahead of every Premier League match this season on the LFC Transfer Room, we'll have match previews, going in through analysis with experts on the opposition sides, and look at how Liverpool could potentially line up ahead of their matches this Premier League season. Joining us for episode 1 is Michael Bailey, a journalist for The Athletic who covers Norwich City. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, and let's get right into it. Norwich City, fresh off of promotion from the Championship, are in their second Premier League campaign in 3 seasons. And their first one, 2 years ago in 2019, they also opened against Liverpool, that time at Anfield against eventual title winners Liverpool. So what are the comparisons between that Norwich team that lost 4-1 at Anfield to the one that will line up against Liverpool at Carrow Road this weekend?
When you do something more than once, you should hopefully be better at it. So I would like to think that Norwich are going to be a bit more on top of what's needed to succeed in the Premier League to their aims. And I don't know if that necessarily manifests to success against Liverpool, but I think what you saw 2 years ago when they got promoted and ended up at Anfield was a team that had a really clear identity, how they wanted to go about things, a really settled team that hadn't particularly been altered since winning the Championship. And I hope that they could go on and as a group step up to the level. And they burned quite brightly for a few of those games, but ultimately against the teams they were really competing with, they conceded too many goals, they couldn't hold on to a lead, and they were just a bit too, although it was good what they were trying to do, they were just a bit too predictable and formulaic in doing it. And I think Premier League teams are pretty clever, and they worked out how to play Norwich and where their weaknesses were and then how to take advantage.
Norwich came into the Premier League storming, wanting to attack and maybe one of the most eye-catching sides, but as Michael said himself, they became one of the most fun sides to watch that finished 20th in the league. So this time around, maybe they could learn from their mistakes and be a bit more pragmatic this time around.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fascinating balance for me, because they undoubtedly cannot be quite as fluent and fluid and as open as they were 2 years ago. I'm not even sure really in the Championship if they were. We didn't see. I always think about the goals and the way they played against Manchester City at Carrow Road, which is obviously basically still arguably the high point of the Daniel PUKKI era. And the way they broke Man City's press and broke forward with such fluidity and freedom. I'm not even sure that side would do that now. I think they are generally more pragmatic, maybe a bit better in the ball in terms of looking after it a bit better. And so I think I do see them being more solid as a result of that. But I think it's a really difficult balance. I think Daniel PUKKI will have to make sure that the balance doesn't go too far the other way, because there is an expectation that Norwich can stick to their principles and that they will still play attractive football and that they will offer real, genuine threats going forward, whether it's on the counter or through patient build-up. And I don't think there's a lot there they probably can't get away from, such as holding onto the ball and building up with good possession, because they are so fundamental to how Daniel PUKKI wants his side to play. But I think probably the idea of them being the best side that anyone's ever seen in the Premier League that's finished bottom, I think that's probably likely to be a bit different this time around.
One of the biggest losses was the transfer of Emi Buendia to Aston Villa, who became a replacement for Jack Grealish. So Michael walks us through what Norwich have tried to do to replace the Argentine.
There's real similarities to, I think, how Aston Villa have tried to approach the loss of Jack Grealish, because Christian Perslow put out a video sort of saying that we wanted to buy 3 or 4 players to provide what we would be missing from one player, and therefore you become less reliant. So I think Norwich have tried to do that. Milot Rashica is probably the most eye-catching signing, probably the most expensive signing of this summer as well. at £9.4 million from Werder Bremen, a player who'd been touted to go for a lot more a year or two ago, Kosovo international, but not really an Emmy replacement because he's much more direct. He's a really good runner with the ball. I think he likes a shot, and he's got a good one on him as well. So probably not the sort of player that Daniel Farke's managed to get the most out of, that sort of direct running threat. It'll be interesting how he utilises him, because with the loss of Emi Buendia, you do lose the production line and supply line to Teemu Pukki, because those two had a fantastic relationship. So I do see Todd Cantwell stepping up, and maybe with the chance to be a critical player in his own right, maybe rather than having to compete with Emi as much as two players and two teammates do compete like that. I think Todd's got a real chance to step forward and deliver.
Preseason for Norwich has been a bit disrupted by COVID-19, so how is that compared to how Liverpool have been able to prepare in the weeks leading up to the season?
I would probably say preseason has been difficult. Norwich wanted to go away to Germany for a week and play 3 friendlies, which is something they've always done under Daniel Farke. This is his 5th preseason, I think, but they couldn't, because they couldn't make the COVID situation work for them, basically, which is interesting given obviously Liverpool got away, I think, to Austria for a good old chunk and got to really spend some quality time together. So Norwich had that. Then in that same period when they were in England and would have been in Germany, they had so many COVID positive cases, but mostly self-isolations as a result of close contacts, that they then had to cancel 2 friendlies, and even the 2 that followed, which was a big win against Gillingham and the pretty ugly defeat to Newcastle on Saturday. They had a pretty small squad to pick from, I think basically 13 pretty much senior players. So that is far from ideal preparation. There are players like Grant Hanley who haven't really played, well, he hasn't played at all in pre-season, I don't think. Ben Gibson's only just back from an injury that he sustained at the end of last year, an ankle surgery. Milot Rashica was one of those who had to self-isolate, so he already looked short of fitness at the start of pre-season and hasn't really played and had the chance to sort of build on that. So if I'm honest, I look at Liverpool and I think they've had a great pre-season in terms of just the time they've been able to build and take together and get everyone a bit of minutes and play some really decent opposition. Norwich look quite undercooked, and I'll be lying if I said there wasn't a bit of me that's a little bit worried about Saturday.
Liverpool played Norwich twice in 2019-2020. First one was a 4-1 win for Liverpool at Anfield. The second one, a 1-0 win for Liverpool at Carrow Road. Michael is hoping for a bit more of the second performance in how Liverpool and Norwich face off this weekend.
I can see Daniel playing a 3 at the back. That's what he did against Newcastle. It's what he did at the start of pre-season, and I think that will be something he really wants a chance to play with, and he probably has the resources to at least give it a go. So a 3-4-2-1, I would imagine, which just gives them that bit of defensive solidity, and they probably are short of a natural defensive midfielder to sit in front of the back 4 if they were to play a back 4. What they need to do, I think they really need, in this situation, they're on a bit of a hiding to nothing, aren't they? But I think, as opposed to the game at Anfield 2 years ago where they came out of the blocks, they created a few chances and it was really free-flowing and they were 4-0 down at half-time, I think if it was something similar to the game at Carrow Road against Liverpool last time, I think that would probably be all right. You know, a really solid, cohesive effort that really made Liverpool work to beat them. I think if they can use the ball well and create their own chances, then I think that's a really handy platform to take on. I'm not for one moment saying that Norwich aren't capable of drawing or winning the game, because this early in the season you really can catch teams cold. Had Norwich had maybe a better run of preparation into the game, I'd have felt a bit more confident about that happening.
So as Michael mentioned, they're probably going to play more of a 5 at the back. So this is currently how Liverpool and Norwich will probably try and line up against each other. There's some notable omissions and inclusions. Teemu Pukki, It's one of the leading scorers in the first month of the 2019-2020 season, is still around, number 22. He'll have supporting him Todd Cantwell and Milo Frasiska, the new signing who replaces Emi Buendia, a bit more of a direct option. I think in my eyes, that's one of the more interesting duels in the pitch if he's going to play on that right side against Kostas Tsimikas, who is the replacement for Andrew Robertson after he had his ankle injury in his last friendly of the preseason. So James Milner, Harvey Elliott, Naby Keita was the midfield trio that Liverpool played in large parts during the preseason, which saw a lot of great link-up play between Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Harvey Elliott. So they could go back to that, or they could bring out James Milner in place of Fabinho if he's gotten back fit. Him, Firmino, and Alisson in net are all coming back late from preseason after work over the summer for the Copa America. So the question mark again is, does Firmino play instead of Jota? I would imagine that the front three of Salah, Jota, Mane is probably the first choice, and it'll happen in match 1 because of Jota's continued preparation and longer preparation in comparison to Firmino's preparation. In terms of our Norwich lineup, they're probably going to play a 3 at the back with a 4-3-2-1. PUKKI needing a bit more support. It's going to be a bit more direct in their support of him as opposed to the creative passing, creative movement of Emi Buendia. It's going to rely on a bit more directness. See if Todd Cantwell can step up. He doesn't wear the 11, it was the 14. We'll have to settle for the 11. No out-and-out defensive mid means that Liverpool could potentially outnumber them in the midfield. A big match for Naby Keita if he can kind of lead off the season in a strong way. It's going to be an interesting one for Liverpool at Anfield, at Carrow Road. And there are a few decisions to make as well. At the back, you have Ibrahima Konate and Joel Matip potentially. A lot of questions. Could you start Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez so soon after their return to play in those friendlies? A lot of decisions for Klopp to make. Same for Daniel Farke. So it's going to be a very interesting debut match of the season. Many thanks to Michael for coming on to the channel. You can check out his work at The Athletic for covering Norwich all season long. Well, how do you think Liverpool will line up, and how do you think Liverpool will perform against Norwich City? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like these. But for myself, Jack, I will see you in the next video or stream on the LFC Transfer Room. Take care.